So there, I thought we would have a music.
We actually had more people drop since you played the music, actually, Russ. So that's very good, actually. That's a good idea. Yeah. I think people want to potentially answer some questions here that we were asked throughout the week. Russ, I mean, we know we're doing this Q&A as well because a lot of times, whether it's videos, comments, people are always asking us a bit of questions, a bit of time. So we want to do these Q&As a little bit more regularly. Now we have an opportunity this week, and some of the questions already pre-asked during the week that you had asked in your video. Do you want to go and answer some of these?
As you wish, brother.
Perfect.
Any way you want. We have what there to. We have to take questions there. If you're putting questions up now, they're going to go up the screen. We're not going to get to see them again. Perhaps our director here, the great Kevin, can keep track of what questions are coming up, what to see. Someone wanted to see a Guerrero headgear. Maybe we can show a Guerrero headgear. Maybe they had something they wanted to know about.
Yeah.
So if you guys can, in the control room, keep an eye on whatever questions come up of equipment that they might want to see, and we'll be certainly happy to show the best that we can.
Yeah, no, and of course we always appreciate everybody now in this day and age in social media. I guess if you're not trying with the asking for free equipment and free sponsorship, that's always a very popular one.
Very popular.
But we do, of course, appreciate and support a lot of the fighters out there, whether it's beginners, amateurs, or pro. But no, I don't think many people here. What's your stance, Russ, on free gloves? Right? What you say? You want free money?
Listen, as soon as our landlord and the bank starts accepting posts and endorsements or influence videos from us in exchange for rent, we'll start giving away free gloves. As soon as the manufacturers want to work for free, we'll give away free gloves.
Perfect.
But until then. Yeah.
We get a question here from GoPal02 throughout the week, and I think I've seen it in the feed as well. The best bag gloves for hand or knuckle protection that Rival currently has.
For hand or knuckle protection. Matt, I'd like to think that we have quite a selection. I think a bag glove becomes a real personal choice to a fighter. I was in the gym the other day training with somebody. They hadn't tried the RB5, which is a
bag glove
it's a nothing. It's just an old school. And wow, this is great. They look so. And then there's other people who are taking something like an RB10 who swear by an RB10 and the D3O material in it. It all really becomes a question of what you like, what your preference is, what your comfort zone is in a fighter. I think if I was to have to make a global remark as to what the best one is, based on what seems to be coming back all the time, fighters seem to love to wear fight gloves on the bag. So something like the Guerrero fight glove, which is in fact a fight glove, but with a Velcro attachment. So whenever a fighter says, hey, what kind of gloves? We're able to get that to them. They're able to buy that glove with a Velcro strap on it, so they don't have to worry about lacing it all the time. But it's exactly the same as the fight glove. And I think that's the one that seems to have been the most popular consensus among fighters, that they like to wear. And that's usually an 8 or 10 ounce glove. They're happy with that.
But that won't be necessarily the best choice if you're looking for gloves that are going to protect your hands, however, though. For someone who has maybe issues in the past, I mean, that's one of the fight glove qualities is there, but it's not necessarily a foam-based glove that will have extra protection.
No. It does have ample protection, or the horsehair one. Either one is ample protection because both of them have triple the amount of padding, more than triple, 10 times the amount of padding as the RB5, and you can use the RB5. You're not asking me about a guy who has an injury. Do I have an injury?
But I think usually, generally speaking, if you're talking about hand and knuckle protection, we have gloves like the RB10 and the RB100 that will probably provide you a safer to the knuckle area than a fight glove.
If you have no injury, I don't think it matters. You could, like I said, you wear a hand wrap, RB5, you're going to be protected. It's going to be fine. If you're not hitting cement, right? You're hitting a heavy bag. It has give to it, okay?
Right. Or mitts, right?
Mitts is different now. Mitts is different because that's a harder surface and you're dealing with impact from the coach. So I never recommend the RB5 bag mitt on the mitts because you're hitting they're hitting the hands hard. You guy could catch it wrong. That might not be good. But if you have no injuries, any glove you like that makes you feel that you can hit, that you feel power transmission from it, that you feel protected from it, that gives you the resistance that you want in the weight that you're looking for. Sometimes fighters or trainers or people hitting the bag don't want all that, the big resistance. They want nothing or they want more. Some guys are hitting the bag with 16-ounce gloves, you know?
Of course.
It really becomes rough. But in a point of view from protection, you have to have good hands to be able to work everything. Wrap your hand properly, you'll be okay in any glove. Hit a good bag, you'll be okay in any glove. You start hitting something that's hard as a rock, you're going to hurt your hand possibly in any glove. So that would be my answer.
Perfect. Some of the other questions we've been getting is also glove specific in terms of the sizing on a sparring glove. 14 and 16 ounce.
Yeah.
What would be the difference? And that's a question from a Change of Heart that sent that in last week.
What's the difference? Read the question again.
What is the main difference between a 14 and a 16-ounce sparring glove?
Really only the weight and the hand compartment size.
All right.
So don't be misled. There is not, and I repeat again, there is not more padding in the 16-ounce glove than there is in the 14-ounce glove. The layers of foam that are constructed to make the inner padding of the glove is the same in both. What changes is the width and the length of the glove. That's the hand compartment size. That's what makes it smaller and says, oh, it only weighs 14 ounce. How do you make it weigh 14 ounce? By making it a smaller glove. So that is a difference. It's the same thing. People don't know this as well. 8 and 10 ounce fight gloves. The padding is virtually the same. Right. There's not a big difference in the thickness of the padding between an 8-ounce glove or a 10-ounce. So there's people who think, oh, he's wearing 10-ounce gloves. That's better than 8. No, it's the same thing. It's just made smaller in the width and the length of the glove, and that's a misconception that a lot of people have. And I think it's something that should be addressed. You know, that people should know about this.
Question as well in terms of sizing is a good point. But if you're a teenager, does it really matter, or it's more about the weight of a fighter? So we have a 13-year-old who weighs about 100 pounds asking what type of glove could they be using?
It's for sparring?
No, for back.
Okay, well, let's do that one. Let's add that to sparring as well.
Okay.
So we get so many guys coming in here that I'm 13 years old, I weigh 100 pounds. My coach said I got to have 16-ounce gloves.
Right.
Nah. Wrong. You know, don't. You're actually doing more damage by putting a kid or putting two guys in there that's such a small weight with such heavy gloves and you're hitting them. They should be in maximum a 12-ounce glove. That's it, max. You know, and the hand compartment size would be according to them, and it would fit them well. So that's important. Now, you said for a bag glove, he wants to know what's the...
Well, because at what point we have to understand, us at Rival, we offer sizing up to even a younger age. Some people 4 or 5 years old on some of these extra small bag gloves. In the case of the Future series, even the youth sizes will work. At 13 years old, at 100 pounds, sometimes I think age and weight can be a little bit misleading. It's still going to depend a little bit on the hand size. Weight is a good kind of gauge, but it is not the only one. So if they cannot try the glove on, I think you're starting to look into an adult small at some point close to that, or youth large.
Or if you're looking in the fight gloves, an 8 is what would be equivalent to an 8-ounce size glove. So an 8-ounce, what we call an 8-ounce fit. So that would be a good size for some. You're not going to get something much smaller, especially if you're over the 100 pounds. Under the 100 pounds, you start being inside, then you might have to get into a youth glove. But if you're 100 pounds, you could probably get away with being in an adult size glove, probably around the size of an 8-ounce fit. I would think would be perfect for that. There's been some nice questions coming up, and I really wish they would repeat themselves, or I hope you guys in the truck are making sure you're taking care of that. Because
right, the big truck.
The big truck, I want to make sure.
You look,
what is your favorite glove in the collection?
If you want to answer that one, then Russ, go ahead.
Well, you'd have to ask me, are you talking about sparring glove, bag glove? Which one are you talking about for the collection? Which collection are you talking about? I need to know that.
Right. Well, in the meantime, we also had some, as you know, you've been a trainer for a long time, a cut man, working corners for how many years now in the game, Russ?
October makes 46.
October makes 46.
So I'm still learning.
Okay, and then, so someone here, Coach Frank Kieg, wrote a question, was how do I maximize my time as a trainer? So I don't know if that means as when you're training a group or an individual, but maybe as well, there's another question from the same type of line of thinking, if you will, for amateur coaches, what should be the point of emphasis during training?
Whether it's amateur or pro, and especially for amateurs when you have kids coming into the gym, and to me this is the most important. Kids come to you because they want to learn. They want to learn. They want to leave the gym that night that much better than when they came in. And not because they're more fit or they can do an extra sit-up or an extra push-up. Right. They come in because they want to learn. They want to learn the technique that makes them better. And they will feel it right away when you tell them to stand in a certain way or put their foot in a certain, and suddenly they realize the jab is throwing better. They feel more stable. Oh, their right hand is landing with more impact. That's better. The most important thing you can do is teach your fighters. That's what a trainer is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a teacher. And we have a saying at our rival boxing gyms, and the first one to put it up in their gym and have it was our gym in Oklahoma, rival boxing gym, right. OKC. And it's the mantra that I live by as a trainer, especially when dealing with kids, when they're coming into gym, 11 years old, 12 years old, that age, when they're coming in there. To me, the most important thing is learning is not the enemy of fun.
There you go.
Learning is not the enemy of fun. You can still enjoy the workout, teach it, but they can teach and learn, and you can teach and they can learn at the same time.
Very good. And you brought up Oklahoma City, and there will be, of course, the rival annual tournament in the United States, the second edition happening in late July. You can check out the website or social media for the membership there, or at least how to join if you are interested in participating. It's a great tournament weekend.
National tournament
as well, happening at the end of July. So you can check it out. And the question regarding the glove selection, what's your favorite? I believe Jaden reappeared and said your bag glove, your favorite bag glove. Now, I think you teased it already a little bit. But if you go ahead.
Personally, for myself, I'm of the same realm as the fighter. Me, I will not go to the gym without the RB5. That's, to me, the most important glove I have. And the best time to use that glove for maximum performance is after sparring. So when you finish your sparring and you take off the 16s or you take off the 14s or you take off the 18s, now you're going to do your bag work. Putting the RB5s on allows you to be able to work now those fast twitch muscles and get to work right away with now zero resistance. After having had maximum resistance on your hand before, now you go to the RB5. But to me, the RB5 will always be my go-to glove. My second choice, or if I have my second pair of gloves in the bag, will always be a fight glove with the Velcro strap. You know, whether it's the horsehair or the foam. For my small hands, for what I like the 8 or 10 ounce pro fight glove, either with the D30 or without. RB50 falls in there also because it's also a smaller type glove. So I like the 8-10 ounce size fight glove, RB50, that's about the same thing, and the RB5 bag mitt. Those are my favorites.
Personal favorites, of course. There's a lot of different options. Always check them out.
And preferences. Everyone likes different things for. Like I said, Lomachenko absolutely hits the bag with 16 ounce gloves, 16 ounce sparring gloves. That's what he uses on the bag. Now he doesn't use the same gloves for sparring, but he uses the big gloves on the bag, and he's a small guy, but people don't realize it, how debilitating a puncher he can be. You know, like he can punch extremely hard, and you can ask, and we were talking to Kambosos, and he said the same thing, he can punch. So he uses those. So everyone has their preference. Usyk loves the RB5 bag mitt. You know, there's plenty of videos out there. Joshua loved them. You know, the guys, you wear the glove. So it's a personal preference.
And it's often been copied as well, that RB5 bag glove mitt.
100%. We're proud of what we did. Was we didn't just take it and copy it. What we did was we made it ergonomic so it fits properly, curls properly on your hand. So I think we did a little extra thing. What did the truck say?
The truck is keeping us some questions for a little bit later, but I want to address, because you talked about your RB5 and as well as some other of your favorite gloves. Been dropping some videos on Instagram, social media, and also the YouTube page of Rival to check out on your opinions of certain of these equipment. And sometimes the comments are, well, of course you're going to be headlining and talking about your product, so how do we know they're coming from a point of view that is not just trying to sell the people that
I guess that's legit, but I got to tell you guys something. I only want you to buy the brand if you like it. If you're using something else, that's fine. There's a lot of good brands out there that make stuff and they have good quality stuff. And if you like it and it suits your personal taste, by all means do it. I'm just telling you the truth about my stuff, not to sell more. I don't care if you buy another brand. If I tell you shouldn't be using bag gloves, I'm sorry, your sparring gloves on the bag and using them to also spar with your fighter. It's not just, you can be using any brand. I wouldn't want you to do that. It's not because I'm trying to sell you another one. I'm just telling you it's not right for your fighter. And I think the other thing that's important we get a lot. The thing I think that probably bothers me the most, more than what the comments would be on certain things about we're just trying to sell, is certain what do they call them, Matthew? The reviewers, the guys who review the stuff.
Yeah, the unboxing videos.
The unboxing videos and things like that. Some of them are very good, but the minute they start to tell you why Rival is doing something in a certain way, why we've done this, why the material is this, as soon as they try to tell you that, we've never had any discussion with these people. They have never spoken to us, never asked us why they do it. They're just trying to come off like they know what it is, and they don't. They don't. So I would like just to tell you what we do. What you choose to do after is you can do what you want. That's fine. If you don't want it, if it doesn't suit, if you don't like it, if it doesn't fit your hand right, and sometimes it don't. There are gloves that we have that don't fit my hand right. It happens. No problem. But I'm just telling you, we know our product. So when we tell you something is made this way, why we've done it this way, why it's built this way, why it's cut this way, because we know why we did it. So I get really offended when other people who have never even spoken to us suddenly come off as an expert on how Rival has done this and Rival has done that. Or again, could be any brand. This brand did this brand did that, You don't know. You didn't talk to them. You don't know why they did that. You're just assuming that based on your opening of a box and getting a pair of gloves, which you have no history of, and you have absolutely have not been involved in the development of that product whatsoever. My man Kurt is right there. My man Kurt.
We have some few questions again that have been popping up. One of them from Bailey.
Arturo.
That's right. One of them from Bailey was regarding the custom gloves, which of course is a big hit. What do you have a personal favorite in the history of Rival doing custom gloves for pro fighters or for anyone else for that matter? But is there one that you recall personally that was a big fan?
Well, I'll tell you what, and maybe because it's recent, the ones we just did for Raymond Murataya.
Yes.
They were special, and I think maybe because when I saw that we were able to match them perfectly to the clothes he was wearing, that they came out pretty nice. Listen, we've done a lot. I'm so proud of the team we have here, Matt, that puts these designs together, Brianna and Carlos and Alex and David, with all the collaboration that's done of putting all this together, and the ingenuity that they have and the creativity that they have in doing little subtle things that personalize it and make it nice. I think, man, they're great. They're a great bunch of guys, and and if you go and look on either our Instagram page or wherever they can find, sometimes we post stuff. I know Kevin puts up stuff where we have all different kinds of gloves. You see such a massive, and we're consistently changing that. We're consistently changing that.
That's right. So. And it's something that people ask us, will we open the vault of that personalization, that customization of some of these gloves that you see pro fighters have, but not necessarily their design, but people getting a chance to do custom gloves, whether it's for sparring or the bag. And I know that on Boxing Day, we did have a special price available last year for that. It was a big hit. People are asking. So, Russ, it is something that we will continue to do.
We will continue to do it. I wish there was a way we could be able to do it, it's expensive. That's the only thing. It's expensive to do. It's expensive for the manufacturers to do because this becomes a piece that's done completely by hand. This is not part of a production line. This is one person sitting and basically making this piece from everything, cutting it, sewing it, printing it, doing everything by hand one at a time. It's not part of a production line of 500 gloves that are now being done and cut, boom, sewn. So they are expensive to do. What I would like to do, and I know how people like the custom stuff, what I'm hoping to do one day is that, a fighter says, Russ, I really like this glove, and I've had a lot of demand for, would you be interested in doing a version of a glove that we can put out there and do like a collab with a fighter, who wants us to have his glove out there, and the response from the people who would do it on a limited basis. We did it with Usyk, and we did it with Lomachenko. There's other guys I'd like to do that with.
That's right. We did the Peace and Love design from Lomachenko that was very popular for his fight as well. It was available for a limited time in Velcro, and it's something that we could do going forward, and adding new colors to fight gloves and to sparring gloves as well. I know one of the questions was asked regarding padding there. Kevin, if you can bring back that question.
And the Arrow one. Remember the Arrow one?
Do you want to go ahead and answer the Arrow one?
Yeah, the Arrow one, because Kev's already got that one in the truck printed up. We'll come back to Kev's in a second. But the Arrow glove, that's a good question. Instead of relying on an unboxer or a reviewer to tell you what it is, we made the Arrow glove basically for people not competitive fighters, but basically for people who are in the gym, working out, want that little bit of extra protection. And don't forget, Matt, when we talk about protection, it's not only about the protection of you hitting somebody, of what that's going to do, but of you covering up and blocking a bigger surface area with punches coming back at you with bigger gloves. That's the whole idea of sparring. So that's why we made the Aero glove. That's exactly what it's for. Little extra padding, little bit bigger all around, more cushion in it, so that people who are not necessarily competitors but still want to have the feeling of sparring in there with minimal risk, could be wearing the face bar headgear or whatever. That's exactly who that glove is targeted for.
And that's the RS4SQ code that you can always look at online, available worldwide. And it's also at a price point that's very attractive sometimes for people if you are starting out and you're not sure how much you want to go ahead and spend on a pair of sparring gloves. It's something, Russ, I think we can say Rival likes to have a different price range depending on the level of you're at in your
and
training.
Style as well. Different
Correct.
styles, different the way they look, the way some people like them. Kurt wants us to make gloves for his competitor in the roofing business. So I don't know if he wants to wear them or he wants to give them to the guy. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Right. I don't know if we can look at some of the other questions that were available.
Which gravel
throughout the
glove would
Instagram?
you recommend for training and sparring under $100? Guys, this is a good question, Diego. This is a good question. It's not about the price. It's about who it's for. So we have gloves under $100, but if you want those gloves for a guy who's been to the Nationals 3 times already, trains 5 days a week, has 100 fights, and he's training every day, no, I'm not going to give you that glove. You need a higher grade glove. So it's not about the price. It's about who the gloves are for. And that's how we design the gloves. That's how we market the gloves. That's where we come up with price points, not based on price point. We will try to make it affordable, give you your choice along the way, but who it's aimed at when you're talking about a fighter. Who is the customer wearing those gloves? That's the most important thing. That's the first thing I ask when someone says, yeah, I need a bag glove. Okay, I ask the question, how long have you been doing it? How often do you do it? How good are you? Do you do it just for recreation or are you competitive? Do you do pads as well? So all these questions is going to lead you into the right glove and the right price point for you. Does that make sense?
100%, which is why also
100%.
there is a lot of selection available on the website, whether it's or even in the store, whether you want to go see some of our resellers, bag or sparring gloves. There isn't just 1 or 2 models because of kind of the circumstances you pointed out.
That's a good one. Look at that one.
More support, the Velcro or lace up, in terms of a question from Michael Crispel.
Yeah, Crispel, yeah. Which gives you more wrist support. Actually, in fact, it's your hand wrap that'll give you any wrist support that you need. That's for sure. Lace up, the fact that you can actually take that tiny little lace and tie it exactly where you want to tie it is going to give you that much more support. But it shouldn't make a difference. It shouldn't be something you look at to say, I need wrist support. You need wrist support if you have issues with your wrist. Tape. Exercise, take a broomstick, put a rope on it, tie a weight to the bottom, boom, 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 up and down until your wrists get good and strong. You start doing that. That's going to be your best support. It's not so much whether it's Velcro or lace.
Well, one thing though, we do have different attachments in the Velcro that have been proven to be, a good measuring, as also to have a tighter wrist. We have the wrist lock system.
More even fit. That's
correct.
right.
And some of the gloves that you'll see it on
Yeah.
many of our back gloves, whether in some cases the
RB1,
RB10 as well.
Wrist lock 1, wrist lock 2.
Correct. There's
Yeah.
different wrist lock available innovation that will make you feel like you're in a tighter fit. If you do go Velcro, if you do go laces, obviously you can also add some tape like Russ mentioned.
Correct.
And to make it even of a tighter fit. So it's not a question between laces and Velcro, but then when you do go into Velcro, generally speaking, the higher end back gloves are going to have a bigger wrist lock feature involved.
What's the best sparring glove? What did that say? What was the best sparring glove for small hands?
That's one of them. Is one of the questions. We're getting some as well between
small hands depends. Not only small hands, but how big's the body? What weight class is the guy in? You could have small. I don't want to get to extremes, but you could have very tiny hands, but being 190 pounds, I can't put you in a 12-ounce glove. So again, relative to the weight class you're in, the level you are. So that those are important things. They're all good. Like when you're talking about the mid to high end range, they're all good. It becomes a question of personal taste of what you'd like. That's the key thing.
One of the questions we were asked a lot this week before leading up to the live, but in anticipation, is
51 kg. So there's your perfect answer. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but 51 kg, you're probably going to be 12-ounce glove. I don't know how old the 51 kg is. 12 ounce. If he's really good and gifted, 14-ounce glove, and you can get that in any of our high-end gloves, whether it's the Guerrero, the RS11, the 100, all available in a 12-ounce if needed, and definitely all available in a 14.
Absolutely. So some of the other questions, Russ, that throughout the week we're asking from the people who were asking about shipping locations and stuff, and does Rival ship internationally? And this is an important point that really there's not a location. There's some that are more difficult to enter, but at the retail level, if you're looking to get some equipment, there's a way that we can service you, whether it's a reseller or one of our own branches, to get you a quote and to get you different options for the equipment you need, regardless of where you're located in. And then if you're looking for specific cities, some people were asking us about New York City or other cities in the United States. You're always best to reach out to the Rival team in that country, who will then point to you the best options if you want to go to a brick and mortar location. Reach out in the USA to Melanie or Manny. You can check out our website, customer service, email on the different locations on the Rival website. So if United States, you're looking for a specific city, reach out to them. Same for Australia, the UK, Europe, or in our case, Canada.
I'd like to expand on that as well, because what's happening and what we're seeing a lot of is people stealing our name, adding another name to it, like it might say Rival Shop, Rival Gloves Shop, whatever. They'll add something and start putting pictures of our products up on a website at ridiculously low prices. $300 gloves, they're giving them to you for $99, you know, and people buy. Please, guys, don't buy from these people. Don't support this. If they are not listed on our website as an official reseller of Rival products, if you're not sure, ask us. Do not buy from these people. You're going to lose your money. You'll never be able to get it back, and then you're going to send us a mail at customer service saying, "Oh, I sent my money in. You know, I sent my money and they didn't get my gloves." Yeah, because you didn't send it to us. Okay, unfortunately, this is the sad reality of the new internet world. Or should I get 14-ounce gloves? I'm 42.
Right.
I would say 12.
Yeah, we need to be careful on some of these specific individuals, because again, some of this Instagram information will be available for people after the fact to watch and stuff. So specific weight classes, specific individuals, always also reach out to the team if you're not sure about which size you should have. Some of the other questions I think would be a little bit interesting as well for the wider audience regarding injuries to hands, Russ.
How about the head? Oh, okay.
There was something about, I saw it just pass on the feed here. Is it related to gloves? Is it related to hand wrap? And someone wrote cutman, but I think in this case, it's not nothing to do with necessarily a cutman, unless your cutman is also wrapping your hands.
Right.
So fighting injuries during pro fights, what would be the main culprit?
Listen, hitting your hand in the wrong way, having a weak hand, having already a pre-existing injury, or a bad hand wrap. I think you have to understand, guys, and this is something why I love the RB5 so much. Sometimes fighters get so engulfed in wanting to wear big gloves during training, where their hands really don't take any kind of punishment whatsoever. And then come fight time, you slide it into an 8-ounce or 10-ounce glove. I don't care what brand it is, and we're not saying our brand, anybody's brand. There's not a whole lot of padding in an 8 or 10-ounce glove. So all of a sudden now your hand, which is used to hitting, you know, is used to being covered up and wrapped up, and you know, with a pad inside and the big foam padding and everything, and now it's got nothing in there, and it's not ready for that kind of stress and abuse that you're about to put on it. I think that's very, very important. You know, gloves are important, of course. I think all companies, you know, in their high end make a good glove. So whatever you feel comfortable wearing, that's fine. But the hand wrap is so vitally important that at least it gives you every chance to, even if you do suffer an injury wearing after a good hand wrap, it won't be as bad as if it was a bad hand wrap. But if you have a bad hand wrap with minimal padding and you land wrong and you have fragile hands because you've been wearing big gloves all the time, you're setting yourself up to suffer a hand injury. That's what my experience has told me.
Also, since we're talking about hand injuries, we're seeing here what you mentioned a little bit earlier, but somebody claiming that they're starting to feel some knuckle pain using the RB11. What are ways to remedy that? And I think this was back to your point of how much hand wrapping is important.
Yeah, the hand wrapping is important. It's difficult to say what you're experiencing. If they're brand new, it's very possible that you could be, you know, the glove is not broken in yet. So my recommendation would be to let your friend use them as well, so he can break them in for you at the same time, get them softened up a little bit, because the RB11 does have a firm a firm foam padding in there, and the
Correct.
people who use them and once they form to their hand swear by them and become repeat customers because the foam lasts so long and offers such a good protection and transmits power very well. But it's difficult to say like where you're feeling the injury. Like is it frontal? Is it on the top? Is it on the back? What's causing that pain? I don't know. What I will tell you, if you are feeling that, then you're going to have to adjust your hand wrapping. You're going to have to find a different way to wrap your hands to hide that middle knuckle. So you want to wrap your hands something like that, where you hide the middle knuckle, and maybe that could help.
And one thing also that I believe that is very useful for people who do have a little bit more pain potentially at the knuckle area is that IntelliShock knuckle guard that we have out as well. It turns to be a very good asset to also have that extra layer. If you just wrap with a Mexican or Guerrero hand wrap, you are also able to add that IntelliShock kind of D3O padding to your knuckles. It's been a big benefit for a lot of people.
That is a precautionary pad, okay? You use it as a precaution. If you're suffering an injury, you have to do something that protects that place that you're injured, and maybe you could take the D3O pad and put a hole in it where you need it to be. That could work well as well. But if you're just putting another piece on top of putting pressure on that injured part, that could still be problematic.
One of the questions that came up a little bit earlier, RS100 colorways. I love that question because, yes, I think we may be seeing some new colors, Russ, of the RS100 series. That's been a very popular sparring model, maybe even the most popular lace-up sparring glove we currently have. But we maybe
there it is.
Some different colors. There you go.
Can you guys should make new colorway for the RS100 from Joe? Yeah.
That's why I think I'm reading the question, Russ. I can edit out the
you can edit
mistakes.
I see. So listen, don't ask me. You want me to leave here and get the design team in here?
Hopefully the design team listening in. RS100 is definitely something that we like to see. That metallic black and gold combination, silver, blue, red, silver that we've had. We might see some new colors in the new year. There's always that potential for change and new items as well.
See, there's the guy who says his knuckle sticks out a bit. Right. So if that's the case, what you're going to need to do is increase the padding over the last two knuckles and the first knuckle to make sure that the contact point, your knuckle, middle knuckle, isn't reaching the bag first. So you're going to have to adjust your padding, fix it up, maybe make a sponge or whatever on each side. That'll help.
Correct. Also, Kevin, I think you had a few more questions that were flagged previously that we can also address here in a few moments. Of our team.
Let's go to the truck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there you go. A difference between the horsehair padding and the SFF padding.
Okay.
Well, the SFF, in fairness, is not something I believe we are carrying anymore, but in some cases you can also explain the HDE one.
Yeah, but so there's some of the officers might have some left over, and what it is what we tried to do was we took the construction of the FSH. The FSH is the horsehair glove. And that's done with a pillow type padding on the inside of the glove. So to make production easier, we tried to replace that with a foam that had the similar properties to a horsehair. And we changed that so it became easier for production. A lot of people liked it. It's a good protective glove. Great. We don't really need it because we now have the other foam glove, the HDE, so we really didn't need the two of them. And now we've perfected the production of the horsehair glove where we're able to do it in production runs, so it's not really a problem. So that's basically the difference. The SFF was designed to feel like a horsehair glove, but it was a foam glove. That was the objective behind it, but now you have the horsehair glove to give you that exact same feel that you want.
Absolutely. Product questions. Oh, we have another one here. For the headgear one, recommended for someone with a big nose, which I guess is a way of saying maybe has a harder time for defense, because defense is always the best way to protect the nose, right, Russ?
Yeah. Keeping your hands up is a good way to do it. Look, there's no headgear. I mean, unless you want to wear the one with the bar.
The face saver headgear is one that you see, Russ, either used by certain fighters who are going in training camp a lot of rounds, so they want to minimize potentially some of the damage. Other times you'll also see people who are doing sparring but can't afford necessarily to have the same defensive skills as other fighters are in the pro ranks. So instead of getting hit too much in the nose, they'll have the face saver bar. But is one thing that you mentioned, the reason why we have most headgears without the face saver is because you still believe that is a very good way to get prepared for a competitive fight.
Yeah, I just what has scared me, because initially we brought out the face saver headgear with the same thinking behind the Aero gloves, which was to give a chance for people who are not competing to be able to spar. And they're maybe not quite as good, but they want that. They're not in the gym 5 days a week learning every day. They're picking up little things at a time. They want to practice. They want to do that. That's why we made the face saver headgear. And I've noticed that too many people rely on the face saver headgear for protection, don't care about their technique, don't care about their defense, don't care about blocking, keeping their hands up, slipping punches. They'll take the punch because it doesn't hurt them. It doesn't bother. That scares me the most. So, Diego, in answer to your question, I don't know if you're a competitive fighter or not, but you should be concerned not about what headgear you're wearing for your big nose. You should be concerned about what defense you're using. If you didn't have the headgear on, that's the key to protecting your nose. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, if you want to go back to the truck.
Oh, what's the best sparring glove you guys have that's Velcro?
Well, the best seller and the most popular Velcro sparring glove we have is the RS11V.
But it is the best. We don't have what other one do we have in our high end that's...
right now we have the pound for pound that's available in Velcro or laces. It is a very popular model as well.
Good point.
We also have the RS2V. It's a good thing that I work here.
Absolutely.
Combine it and make sure
I forget
the
about
other
the
SKUs
pound.
we have.
Yeah.
The RS2V has also been a very popular sparring glove over time in the Velcro versions that resemble the fit of the RS1, but has Velcro instead of lace-up. So you have a little bit of everything, and a lot of the people who use the sparring gloves for Velcro purposes, like the RS11V, is in sometimes multi-purpose training. They need to get the gloves on and off quickly.
Right.
If not, I think as an old school guy, you recommend having a lace-up option when you can.
Yeah, if you can, and you're looking in the high-end glove. We even brought it out in the 60, didn't we? Remember, even in the lower end, in the 60. That was me. Remember?
And people who are asking how they can get a lower end, or at least if let's say you're trying to do it with a budget and try to get a sparring glove, that RS60V is available in both Velcro and lace-up.
Now, is it safe to say that we probably sell, in sparring gloves I'm talking about, we probably sell 4, 5, 6 to 1 of Velcro to lace?
I don't know the exact numbers, but there's somewhere probably around that vicinity.
Okay.
We're going to have Jerry come up with this.
And I told you I wanted a lace-up glove for the 60 because there are people out there who want the lace-up. I want the lace-up. And I always wonder, if you're in the gym sparring, technically there should be a coach there. That coach should be able to tie up your gloves, and you get a longer life with a lace-up glove. You're able to tighten it, especially as the glove breaks in. That's the one thing that we haven't quite perfected yet with Velcro is what happens after the glove breaks in and it stretches and you really need to pull it. Now you've got that, sometimes you get that little flap hanging over because you're pulling it so tight. You never have this problem with the lace-up gloves because you can pull that as tight as you want and it adjusts as the glove breaks in. But I have a solution for both those problems.
Can you explain the solution?
We have the Rival lace cover sweatbands that you can, if you do get that little flap that's hanging over, or you have the lace that's tied and now there's extra length on lace, instead of using tape, we got the wristbands. You put them on, pull them over, covers everything, holds everything in place. Cheap and easy.
Well, I think you have another version as well that is going to be potentially released shortly that you like as well. So
but that's more high end.
We're gonna have that's why different options, right, for everyone, Russ. So as we continue with some of these questions in the Instagram Q&A here for a few more moments, one of the questions as well regarding new products. When can they expect new launches? Whether it's shoes, whether it's gloves. Is that something that you can share today? And if not today, just keep in mind we are always continuously working on new products.
We are always we do. And sometimes I just want to be sure. One thing that we tried not to do is just make for the sake of making. When we do and introduce something, we'll take maybe the same glove, we'll change a colorway in it, just to have something different. But when we make a new product, it's because it needs to fit something. It needs to fit either a price point, an innovation that we did, something that has a quality that in a price point that we're unable to get in other gloves. So we don't just do it for the sake of doing it. We don't try to reinvent the wheel. We really try to bring something to the forefront because it just makes it that much better. You know what's a perfect example of that? And I think it was on our Instagram today, was the RNFL 100 groin guard.
Yes, with the Velcro or laces.
Yeah, and the lace things in the back where we put just that little innovation. For me, I like this kind of little neat stuff where we were able to put those extra holes there, which is now going to prolong the life of your groin guard, which is going to give you more adjustment possibility in a lace-up on a groin guard, which was so hard to do before. Like, nobody could do that. And just that little innovation. So when we do something, we do it because we have a reason and a purpose. And invention is necessity is the mother of invention.
There you go.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the truck here real quick? We have maybe time for a few before we wrap this thing up, Russ.
This is good. Well, before you go to the truck, thanks for doing the Q&A. Really cool. I don't see other manufacturers doing this. Respect. Manos, that really means a lot to us, and I'm going to tell you why. And we say this often, and it is part of our DNA. Other companies are boxing people trying to infiltrate the business world.
Or maybe the other way around, Russ, I think you meant to say.
Our business people trying, yeah. Thank you. Our business people trying to infiltrate the boxing world.
Correct.
I've been in this game 46 years. I'm a boxing guy trying as best we can to infiltrate the business world. So maybe if I was a businessman, we would be even more successful. But this is why we do it like this, because we're boxing people. Everyone that works in our offices is in some way connected to boxing, and it means a lot. We're driven, the brand is driven by passion. So it means a lot for us to do that. And we know what we're talking about when it comes to making gloves because we use it in the gym.
Let's get a question from the truck. Please, do you have tips for people who feel like they're making no progress, I assume, in training? That's one of the questions that, of course, that we're addressing, Russ, is not only the boxing brand, but as well as some of your knowledge and teaching.
Look, it could be two things. It could be that the coach or the club where you're at is not doing an adequate job in teaching you and making you better and having that improvement. Or you could not be good. You might not be good at what you do. That's a possibility as well. Right. So you might have plateaued. Though, you know, the one thing about boxing, and I don't care at what level it happens, at some point, as a fighter, we're talking competitive now, as a fighter, you hit the wall. At some point. It could be in your 6th amateur fight. You realize, boom, you fight a guy, you know that you're not cut out to do this. Some guys suffer this in their 5th pro fight. They make the jump from a 6-rounder to an 8-rounder, boom, they hit the wall. Some guys go all the way up to world championship status, and in the time when it comes time to unifying the title, they hit the wall. At some point, you hit the wall. And I think that happens for recreational type people who train as well. You know, you get to a certain point. To me, my favorite fighters have always been overachievers. Guys who, as a result of good coaching and hard work, have gone beyond where they should have gone because of their talent. Those have always been my favorite type of fighter. Great, naturally gifted fighters are supposed to do what they do. They're so great. And when they work hard, they know that, you know, they excel and take over everybody. But the guy who's just that much under, that nobody believed in the beginning, and their hard work makes them work and train, and they work at it, and they try to perfect the technique, even if it's very basic, and they go beyond what their talent was. That's my favorite.
I think that brings me to one of the good questions we received throughout the week. One of the good questions, yes. One of the many several questions. We thank everyone for doing this, and we'll do more in the future as well.
I hope you guys have liked it.
And if you missed, because some people, of course, are coming in, some people are not necessarily available on Instagram at the moment, this will be uploaded to our YouTube page if you want to see some questions, you want to hear, and you missed out. So you get an opportunity, and we will continue to do this going forward. One of the questions, Russ, when you talk about coaching and overachievers, something that maybe people don't know, this Saturday in Quebec City, I believe it will be May 31st, Saturday?
May 31st.
May 31st. You will be inducted into the Canadian Sports Boxing Hall of Fame. Canadian Boxing Hall of Fame. There'll be others like same weekend, Benoit Godet, Jean-François Bergeron, Jean-Pascal, etc. But one of the questions maybe that was brought up here by Dennis that leads to this achievement is, how did you start in the world of boxing? We talked a lot about your experience, your years. We see you in the ring, or in the corners, I should say, as a cut man, seen it sometimes as a coach. What would be your start of how it all began, your first boxing gym and your passion?
You know what? First of all, this is the Boxing Canada Hall of Fame,
Correct.
Which is to recognize what these great athletes did during their amateur career. And you know, I had the privilege of watching Jean-Pascal, Mark Simmons, Benoit Godet, Jean-Francois Bergeron go through their amateur career, go to the Olympic Games. As a matter of fact, I called many of their fights,
right.
At the Olympic Games, working for CBC, doing that. So, it's an honor to be there. Me doesn't matter. These guys are the fighters. They're the ones that did this. They're the ones that succeeded. They took the shots in the ring, and it's a pleasure and an honor to share that with them. As far as I'm concerned, my start in the career, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to tell you. How's that? Hopefully.
That's a question from Dennis here who wrote to us.
Okay. Well, Dennis, listen. Hopefully, God willing, we're looking at an October 2nd release date of my biography written by Paul Harrietta, which will be coming out hopefully October 2nd. You can ask later why October 2nd. And we're going to be releasing that book. And, hopefully the question you asked, answered will be in that book. And it will be an honor for me if you would read that. And hopefully I tell the story nicely in the book and that you enjoy the read. So I'm going to save that for the book.
Is the follow-up, the question is October 2nd? I got to ask you now?
Yeah, you can ask now. Why October 2nd?
Correct. Why October 2nd, Russ?
It's funny you should ask that, Matt. Yeah, it's ironic because October 2nd will mark to the day, the first professional corner I ever worked. 46 years to the day. October 2nd, 1979, I worked an 8-rounder. I worked Vinnie Curtle's corner in an 8-round win over tough Marciano Bernardi from New Jersey at the Montreal Forum. So that was the first professional corner I ever worked. So we're trying to do that on that day. So
that's amazing. And for people who also like to catch you potentially, or other people in the rival community who are working, whether as coaches, as cutman, hand wrappers. We have a ton of people associated. We can think of guys like Luke, Craig, even people in the United States like Jesse Thompson, shout out. So you will be in the corner of other fighters coming up in a few weeks, and I believe even maybe in New York City, a very busy month of June, right, Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. Peter just said, let's not forget Howard and Otis Grant. Peter, of course, Howard was inducted last year. Howard was inducted last year at the first ever Boxing Canada Hall of Fame. He went in last year, and I think if I understand correctly with what Boxing Canada wants to do, because they've got a lot of catching up to do. It's actually, I'm glad that they're doing it now, but it's sad that it's taken so long given the rich history of Canadian boxing, that this wasn't done sooner. So they got a lot of catching up to do. So as a result, they're getting all the Olympians first, all the people who represented Canada, and I'm hoping, and I'm going to make mention of this, on Saturday during the time I get to speak, guys who should be in posthumously is somebody like Donato Paduano, who represented Canada at the Olympic Games, and he should be there as well. So I think they have some catching up to do. A lot of great fighters. It's almost sad that such a rich history of boxing, in this country, that these fighters are not recognized, and I can think of names of guys like Nicky Furlano, et cetera, who should be in the Hall of Fame, Davey Hilton Jr., how talented they were. There are guys who should be in there, and hopefully Boxing Canada is making that move to recognize the accomplishments of those great fighters. Because without them, we wouldn't have boxing in Canada today. There'd be no legacy, there'd be no history, and people wouldn't care. But like we said with Jean Pascal, Jean Pascal looked up to fighters before him to make him become a fighter. The people that are fighting at the tournament in Quebec City this weekend are looking at the Jean Pascals and the Benoit Godets of the world, Mark Simmons, and that's why they're boxing today. So, yeah.
And well, best of luck to all the amateur fighters who will be competing in Quebec City over the weekend, and also, of course, abroad, everywhere else in the world. We have an international destinations, a lot of gyms across, and reminder for that second annual rival tournament happening in Oklahoma City at the end of July, a week after Usyk defends his title. Russ, I believe you'll be in the corner for that one against Daniel Dubois, the rematch,
God willing, yes,
in the United Kingdom in mid-July. So it's going to be a busy summer. We'll be back, of course, Russ, and we appreciate everybody here who helped us put this little Instagram live together and the questions of everyone out there.
Yeah, I hope we got to the questions. I hope we answered the questions you sent in. The ones you've asked here, they come through so quick. It's sometimes difficult. But if there's anything you need to know, you can always reach out to us here. Ask the questions. We'll be happy to. Please don't go to those phony websites, and give your money to these people. Verify if it's a rival authorized place that sells it. We want to make sure you do that. Don't buy fake equipment. Don't be fooled by fake prices of people going to promise to sell you rival rival equipment at a really cheap price. Not true. It's not right.
Yep.
Let us know where you're getting it from, please. You know, we're doing that for yourself. And you don't have to take ours. Don't do that with anybody's brand. You know, anybody. Don't look for those cheap knockoff fake people. You know, you're not getting the real stuff there. So, and if you want to know something about our products, ask us.
Well said, Russ. Thank you, everyone. Talk soon. Talk later.
See y'all.
Time to play your music, not to roll out, Russ.
Oh, well, you should have told me that. We should have had the music to roll out. You didn't tell me that. Now I got to get the speaker going and...